Danger Street, issue 6. Tom King writing, Jorge Fornes on the art. And, as always with this, it's all these ongoing threads running alongside and sort of taking us to the next part. So, because of the fight that Starman was in, the kids now have Starman. The Dingbats have Starman tied up. Not that once he wakes up, of course, towards the end of the book, it's not like the restraints are going to do much, but
that cracked me up so much. He just kind of stands up and the ropes fall, and I was like, oh yeah, they're the Dingbats. Of course, they're not good at tying guys up.
Well, I also assumed they had like extra strength.
Yeah, but to me, it's funnier that they thought they had him, but it was only because he was, knocked out.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing in this is that out of nowhere at the end of this, at least I think it's out of nowhere. I don't think this was like hinted at before, unless I'm forgetting it from a previous issue. But Lady Cop has like a Dr. Fate helmet on her desk, and she's like talking to it, but then she looks at it closely, and she mentions it's like a Halloween Dr. Fate thing, and she looks at it closely, and it's got the Green Team like logo in the corner, and I'm like, okay, so we've had this like device where the Dr. Fate helmet's the one who's narrating this story. And now the first time a Dr. Fate helmet outside of the one that the
narration panels.
No, because Warlord and that had one, right? They had Dr. Fate's helmet because they used that for thingy, right? But if this is the one that they had, like, why does it have Green Team stamped on the corner?
It's a great question.
Because I took the Green Team stamp to mean, oh, this is just a Dr. Fate mask they sell in a store,
right?
kind of thing,
right?
But if
that's a great. I didn't even consider that. I just was like, oh, they've made a copy of this.
Yeah,
like maybe they switched it out or something. Like there's something shady going on in the town.
Oh, do you think that's why it didn't work correctly and it brought in Atlas instead?
Maybe I'm not too sure, but it seems like it was charged with some kind of energy, right? Because that's why Metamorpho was there.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know. It was an interesting little moment to end on it. It just got me thinking about like how the Fate helmet's sort of fitting into things. Yeah. So, Manhunter's coming after the third of the 4 Green Team members. Now we know that the main one, the Commodore dude, he's made a deal with
Codename Assassin.
Codename Assassin, thank you. You knew I wasn't going to remember that.
I got you these because I also did some research after I read this one to keep the Green Team straight.
Oh, very good.
So, yeah.
So this one is waiting and tries to run away. He tries to shoot Manhunter for a start, but he hesitates and he ends up running out the window in a great panel where he's sort of jumping in front of the sound effect for the glass smashing that he's just jumped through, and he lands in a pool. It's very Lethal Weapon 2. You know that scene in Lethal Weapon 2 where they throw Leo out and they all jump out and they land in the pool? It reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, because I was like, oh man, he just jumped out. How is he? And then when Manhunter looks down, he's in the pool giving him the finger. Yeah. Like, that was such a good scene.
It's a great scene, yeah.
Yeah. So
Lady Cop tries to talk to Warlord and he says, piss off, I'm not telling you anything.
That was the thing too with Warlord being a pilot and going missing and he's on AWOL. So like we all know that he's the Warlord, but to her it's like, oh, he's just this crazy guy that is, he's got ties to the death of this kid.
Yeah. Meanwhile, to try and buy Orion more time to like track down Starman or whatever, Highfather and Darkseid are unleashing this massive power between both their planets to try and buy him time with whatever force is about to destroy the universe. Yeah,
so this is the same power that split the third world into the fourth world. That is why New Genesis and Apocalypse.
Yeah, it was the energy that was created when they split apart. So they're kind of like fusing again or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is very interesting because to put them on the same side, right? Like I realize this issue is all about balance, and I'm wondering if this is because it's the 6th issue.
That makes sense. Yeah. I like some of the dialogue there where like just before they do it, Darkseid's like, I pity you, Highfather, and Highfather's like, and I love you, Darkseid. Like, it's like the alternative terms. I don't know, it was interesting.
No, it was good. Yeah, it was very on brand for both of them.
Yeah, and the kids are entertaining again. They're arguing about video games. There's more grapes, as you expect.
He was supposed to be burgers, but he loves grapes so much that's all he bought.
Yes, and like they want dinner, and they just brought grapes back. So you've got that, and so the running thing with this Green Team one who survived is that he has been cut off from his finances. The main one, Commodore, has cut him off from everything. So he's realizing that as he goes to the bank and tries to take out money. He tries to call Commodore, who ends up hanging up on him, and he's getting livid and angry. And he's like, you're killing me. He yells in front of Jack Ryder, who's out in front of the building. Right. So he's like getting desperate, and he's on the run from Manhunter, but he's been kind of left out to dry. So it's really setting up Commodore as the
main villain.
But anyway, actually, which reminds me of the other thing about the green team stamp on the Dr. Fate helmet that I wanted to mention is that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time that the green team side of the plot has in any way connected with the Dingbat side of the plot, because there's like 4 or 5 plot threads going on, but they're kind of split into 2 camps where obviously Warlord, Starman, and all that feeds into Orion, and it feeds into the Dingbats, who feeds into Lady Cop. But then,
but they're all very compartmentalized for the most part.
Yeah, but they're all connected to each other. Whereas on the other side of the coin, you've got the green team, which connects to Manhunter, which connects to all that stuff, right? But that and Jack Ryder, and that all feels very separate. Green team being stamped on this Dr. Fate helmet, I think, is the first time that there's like a connection that crosses over between those two sides.
Between the green team and the So this is what led me to do a little bit of research about the green team and the Dingbats, right? And so basically both of them were created by Jack Kirby. One was created by Joe Simon. I think it was also the green team to pop up for the Newsboy Legion, which had disappeared from the pages of Superman and stuff. They wanted a new version of those. And so the point of the green team was they were teen billionaires. That was, in order to join the green team, you had to have $1 billion, which in the 70s, that's like, you might as well say $1 trillion, right? And so each of them came from different aspects, right? So you had the Commodore, who was from a shipping family. You had the oil one, who I'm forgetting his name right now, right? Then you had the movie guy who was all about finding the next star. That's what he made.
The producer. Yeah, but obviously he was killed last issue.
Right, and so now you have the 4th guy, who I believe his name's Abdul. He got his money from a glitch in the bank because he was just a shoe shine kid. He was a kid with just a regular job. Went to put money in the bank, and there was a glitch that ended up leaving him with over $1 billion. Right, so in order to counteract these teen billionaires, what they were going to do is they were going to have the Dingbats of Danger Street, who were just your average street urchin kids. And there's 4 of them and 4 of the green team. And that's what kind of focused on. So I think it's very curious now that we are missing 1 Dingbat, and we're getting down to where there's might be only 1 green team member.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's all about that balance again.
So basically, to tie this into the other plots here thematically, you've got Darkseid, you've got Highfather, you've got Apocalypse, and you've got New Genesis. You similarly have the green team being the dark side of things, and you've got the Dingbats potentially being the likable, New Genesis team. And not that they've got anything to do with those things. I just mean in terms of the yin and the yang, the two sides. The matching equal parts,
but what gets me about this is that Abdul character, right? He has more in common with the Dingbats than he does the Green Team, right? He came from the streets. So when he's telling Manhunter, I'm not like the other ones, right? I did things to get to this point that the other ones didn't do. I'm a wild card. I thought that was all very curious, and then I'm sure we'll get to that, to the back part.
There's an interesting scene where Lady Cop's talking to the coroner, and they're like, "Why did they steal the kid?" Because they were trying to revive the dead body, right? And obviously they don't get to that conclusion. They never consider that's what they were trying to do. They're like theorizing, maybe they just wanted to like hide the body, because if there's no body, then there's technically no crime or something.
There's no crime, right?
But ultimately that's kind of weird. But something I never considered up until this point is the coroner mentions, and that muscly guy we got, which is the one that they killed. It was Atlas.
Right.
Like, hey, we've got this muscly guy in here. What do we do with him? And like, we don't know yet. But I do think it's interesting that they've pointed out that we have that dead body lying in the town,
in the slab.
Yeah. So very, very interesting kind of like stuff to point out here. But yeah, as the book's sort of gearing up to end, Abdul, as you just reminded me who his name was, This green team member who's on the run. He goes to someone, he knocks on a door, and she's basically telling him to piss off, and he's like, no, please, I'm desperate, I've got no money, or I do have money, but you can't access it, so it's kind of a lie.
Right.
And she gives in and lets him in, even though she doesn't want to, because he kind of betrayed them. And it turns out he actually comes from this group of misfits, and she refers to this group as the Outsiders, which up until this point, we have been kind of leaning towards that's a fake thing that doesn't exist, that they're just using as a scapegoat.
Right.
This boogeyman that they can use to influence people. But it turns out there is a team called the Outsiders, and it's this weird group of, different mutant characters, effectively.
Doom Patrol cast-offs, if you ask me.
I mean, the girl who was at the door, because you'll only see her face at first, but when you see her full body, she looks kind of like she's got the body of the Thing, but with like flippers for hands.
Right. She's like very scaly looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the color of her skin plus the blue tank top made me think of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I got Fantastic Four vibes. Yeah. But there's like a lizard looking dude, there's like a Cyclops with one eye.
Yeah.
There's a dude with like a red kind of face, there's like a big brain looking individual, and then there's someone in like a little go-kart who we don't even see from the front, we only see him from behind. But so there is an actual Outsiders, and it's almost like, are they saying that he came from this group? This was his dingbats, and he's
right.
Even though visually there's nothing weird about Abdul, he looks like a normal kid.
But who knows with all that money, right? Who knows what he's done? Has he changed himself? We don't know. And so I looked these guys up. This is new. These are all, as far as I know.
Okay.
I couldn't find anything in the canceled Cavalcade that lines up with this, because when you look up the Outsiders,
the Batman's team,
right, exactly. So nothing. So this is, to me, as far as I know, this is all original.
One little plot detail here that might be important later is when he says he has money. Mary, the character, she says, "We know you have money. You stole. We're the ones you stole it from. Remember." So that might be something that we expand upon in the future. So very interesting. So, because I know you looked him up and he said he got his money from a glitch. It feels like there might be more to it in this story.
Yes. And that's why when he's telling the Manhunter, I'm different than the rest of them, right? He screwed over his friends, it seems like. He stole from them to go, take from them to go build himself an empire. Because we're still not sure what exactly his specialty in the Green Team was, right? Like, how there's the oil guy and there's the shipping guy and the producer. He was just one of the Green Team. So I'm curious to see, where he came from.
Also just mentioned briefly is a scene where Jack Ryder goes up to talk about the fact that he saw Abdul yelling outside, and Commodore just kind of says, it's a PR thing. He did something he shouldn't have, and we can't really go into it, but he's been let go, kind of thing. Which I don't think you ever see him though. They actually keep Commodore off panel, even in the scene that he's talking to someone. They keep him kind of mysterious, which makes me wonder: has he got a new look because he's put himself in this position as the only, the green one, the green individual, the green man, whatever they're going to call him,
the Almighty,
So I don't know. It's another solid issue. I think this one doesn't stand out to me as much as some of the recent issues. Not because there's anything wrong with it, just because those had bigger, more exciting story beats. But this was still a great continuation of everything. And the fact that we're sitting here talking about, all these plot threads and even the exciting possibility that, because you assume that eventually the two sides of this story that are very separate right now are going to come together. And to an extent, even all the New God stuff feels very separate to everything for the most part as well.
Right. Because, they unleashed that power and, to aid Orion, right? Because it feels like they need someone to do Atlas's job of holding everything up. So, we'll see where all that leads to. But just that whole scene with High Father kind of in the garden and, Darkseid in his, endless wasteland, that was, again, all that balance tape stuff. That image was super cool as they're unleashing the power. But this book is so good. It's ridiculous.
It's juggling all these plot threads and characters. It's doing something very interesting with most of the characters that the vast majority of people will never have heard of, and it's building a narrative around them that all feels like it's very layered and has a lot to say. And we don't quite have the full picture yet of what it's saying, but we're building it up and we're getting there, and that's part of the fun of reading it and talking about it. And Fornes art, unsurprisingly, is very strong once again. So, like, I feel like he's almost at a deficit or like a disadvantage, I should say, compared to because he did Rorschach, and Rorschach was such a tour de force with his artwork that this is excellent. And it's just sadly, like, I don't know if it's ever going to be quite as memorable as his Rorschach art, but it's still very, very strong and is doing really great things with the sequential storytelling.
I I feel like he took more chances with some of the art in Rorschach because the story itself was a kind of more based down, kind of like this hard-boiled detective story as we're unveiling all these layers. Whereas I feel here, King's really going out of his way to the story, and Fornes is doing a bang-up job nonetheless, but I feel like he's taking less chances, and it's more straightforward in his storytelling.
I think this is juggling a lot more different types of character and like, tones, which means that it doesn't necessarily. Whereas Rorschach was just like uber focused. It's got one style that it is going to do exceptionally well.
I just go back to that one issue in Rorschach that played with the colors, with the different timelines, and stuff like that. And here we're juggling different timelines, but they're all they're all very much, I feel like, based in the same world. And we're just jumping around. So
they're not different timelines. They're all happening concurrently.
No, same. When I mean timelines, different spots, these different stories.
Plot threads.
There we go. Plot threads. So it's again less risk taking and more straightforward, but that's okay. That's what the story's calling for. Because to me, a lot of the risk taking is being done through the story and not so much the art.
Yeah. So what you rate in Danger Street issue 6?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's not the best issue it's had, but not because there's anything wrong with it by any means, just because it didn't quite hit me as hard as maybe the last 2 issues did. But excellent stuff. Can't wait to the next one.